in that order. That's the priority.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
And on that note, welcome to the Drivers Large Podcast, episode number 5. And I just got back from Road America. Today, I have my friend Max Evans, photographer, automotive photographer, and now space photographer, soon to be on, is it SpaceX or Mars?
That would be fantastic. I would sign up for that in a heartbeat.
Feel free to introduce yourself. Give a little bit of a better background in a business plug or Instagram or something.
Oh man, put me right in the spot. Okay.
Welcome to my podcast.
I just shoot like a whole bunch of stuff. I really cut my teeth in with cars. I've been shooting cars for about, let's see. I bought my first camera about 3 years ago now. Maybe a smidge more. But I've been taking it seriously for the past couple of years. So
I did that for about, I want to say a month this year, 2 months this year, and I was burnt out. I was like, I don't care. Like, I just want to do this for fun at this point, and I found I'm a lot more creative when I'm having fun.
I
was going to a lot of Chicago Auto Club West events, and I just got burnt out, so I was like, these are the same cars, there's too many people, there's no way for me to shoot and have fun. I'm like, I just gotta come here and enjoy the event. I'm not gonna go nuts taking photos. And then Grid Life is the same way yesterday. Like, I took it way too serious getting prepped. I got out there and I'm like, it's raining.
Did it rain the whole day?
Okay, so yeah, I just got back from Road America for Grid Life Road America, their fall special, and unfortunately with the forecast, Saturday it rained all day, and Sunday it rained. No, it didn't rain at all. It was very moist in the morning with all the dew and humidity.
It was damp.
Very damp. Moist. It's very moist. The actual Sunday, it was very sunny. It was nice. So working pit lane, which is what I do when I'm working with the Grid Life series for about a year now, on and off this year due to coronavirus. But I work as a pit lane marshal and kind of help set up cars for races. Yeah, a lot of people don't. So I don't like brag about that because I don't feel like I really work with them.
Like just there, or do you move around?
What do you mean?
Like at different tracks?
Oh, yeah, dude. I worked Gingerman Raceway for their fall meet last year. Road Atlanta last year. I went to Grid Life South.
Really?
We did Black Hawk Farms when we did Track Day Picnic.
I love Black
Hawk
Hawk
we
Farms.
missed very much, and you should bring it back, Chris. Track Day Picnic at Black Hawk Farms, amazing. But that was my first Autobahn. Autobahn was my first event, so I've also worked Autobahn. And so far this year, I'm going back to Gingerman.
Which course though? North, south, or full?
Actually, I think we've done North briefly last year, but no, full track was last year. So this year we only did South, but we were able to run wheel-to-wheel racing, our GLTC series.
Right. I saw pictures going in, like the first pictures of, I think it was the first race going into turn 1. It looked insane, the amount of cars that were there.
You thought that was crazy. You should have saw Road Atlanta last year. We had, at one point, 4 cars going to turn 1. 4 wide.
Oh,
I was
my
like,
God.
Jesus Christ.
4 wide going into 1.
And then out of nowhere, we had Team HMA at the time with their Honda Odyssey. The Honda manufacturer plant of Alabama, they basically have a volunteer race team, so they came out, they brought their RDX as a HP track car, but their main race car, their wheel-to-wheel race car, was a Honda Odyssey. And it was the first time they ran it in wheel-to-wheel racing.
I think I've heard this one before.
If you've ever watched any of the old live streams earlier this year, you've seen it. It was at COTA, and they did a partnership.
That might have been where I saw it.
They did COTA. I was stuck at home. I couldn't go out there, but plus it was a stupid long drive. It was just like 14, 15-hour drive, maybe more.
And that's what, Austin?
Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So once you hit Texas, it's like 6 hours through Texas.
It's only 14 hours, really, to get there?
I think it's farther. It's longer. It's a hike. But
I was gonna say like 14 hours isn't that bad.
So they did a live stream they did like a partnership with Global Time Attack and Grid Life, and they used Global Time Attack's live stream, and you could see, at least I saw, you would see literally the view count, Time Attack, GLTC, over, back to Time Attack. It was just there was a max influx of viewers watching the GLTC race.
Wow.
And during that influx, everyone kept commenting, "Is that a fucking van on track?" Yes, it is. It's like a 3,000-pound monster, but it handles pretty good.
It's an old one? An old Odyssey?
No, they took a new one off the assembly line last year. It's got paddle shifters. It's got an open diff. It's got custom front rotors, which costs probably the most expensive thing was probably the rotors of the wheels. I know because I own an Odyssey, as you saw.
Yeah.
They're 5x120 wheels. They had RPF ones on them, real RPF ones.
A newer Odyssey. What? Oh, and that
Like,
it's a
yeah.
brand new Odyssey.
Yeah, a brand new Honda Odyssey. The V6 was tuned a little bit, but it made 290 wheel horsepower. The whole inside, at least behind the driver's seat, was stripped out.
Oh
Carpets,
my God.
everything. They took the seats out. They took everything they could out. They caged it, fire suppression system. And I'm like, this is awesome. Because I had to tech it, so I was like, this is so awesome.
I was gonna say like
Go.
maybe a first gen Odyssey would make a lot more sense because they're tiny, like by comparison.
Yeah, vehicles have gotten has gotten much larger, but their main goal with Team HMA is this is not the first time they ran a minivan. Their main point or their main objective is to run a race car that anybody can drive, right? So it would make more sense to drive a Honda Accord, but to really have the wow factor, they just took a Honda Odyssey. And that was the reason I bought mine originally. I was going to go do track days with Grid Life.
That's hilarious.
At least you find it funny because most people think I'm like crazy or on drugs when I go to car shows.
I mean,
you drive a
there's
Honda
no
Odyssey.
better car to follow for slipstream than an Odyssey. It's just punching a huge hole in the air.
Yeah,
It's a great slipstream car.
Yeah, dude, they get passed a lot. So that's actually funny you mentioned that. It is a great slipstreaming vehicle, but it's also a great camper, as you would see on pretty much any event I was at. I would use it as a camper more than I would use it as a track car. I was trying to save my money for a good set of tires, brakes, and engine maintenance before I ended up throwing it on track because I wanted to get the timing chain done. And I just hit a point where I'm like, you know what? This is my only car. Not a good idea to go throw this on track and be fucked and stuck in Gingerman Raceway in the middle of nowhere. So maybe I'll keep it and I will get another daily driver and that'll be used just to throw around on the track. But right now, like it's the Hot Rodyssey. I drive the tracks all the time.
Hot Rodyssey.
I totally stole that from Team HMA if Carl
I did
was
that.
watching this. But yes, I totally stole it from them. That's what they called theirs. Their
Okay.
race car is called the Hot Rodyssey. But when we were sitting at the track when I bought mine, I actually bought mine 1 year ago. Like this last weekend was 1 year ago.
Okay.
I bought it, drove it up to Road America like right after signing the paperwork at my dad's dealership, which was kind of scary because if it breaks and fucked. It's a 4-hour drive. And I slept in it for the weekend. It was awesome. We came up with 2 nicknames, either Hot Rodyssey or Thick Fit, because we parked it with all the Spec Fit guys, and we realized that this Honda Odyssey has the same design style as a Honda Fit. It's just oversized and just thick. You know, it's thick.
I think I prefer the Hot Rodyssey. It rolls off the tongue better, I think.
It gets a lot more publicity, but that is also my Instagram handle. If anyone is watching this at Hot Rodyssey, feel free to follow me and look at all the cool photos that I post that are never going to be on Max's level.
Oh no, please.
Yeah, the thing is, you're like one of the cool guys I actually experience on social media. So let's talk like photography. The photography game today in the car scene is just crazy. Very competitive.
There has been a major influx of photographers in the last couple of years. This year especially. I remember when I started back in 2017, I think was when I first picked up a camera. There really wasn't that much going on.
If you went on Car Spotters and you were posting photos on a Tim level, you were big. You know, and you got a lot of work, and you were able to really be a professional photographer and make it your solo career. Now, you literally have to give work away for free and hope to God you get some for referral if you are fresh off the boat. At your level or Tim's level, it's completely different, but I feel like if you want to be on your level or Tim's level, you really have to invest a lot of money in glass and a body. And your time is also going to be a big factor
That's
on
an
editing.
extremely accurate statement.
Trust me, dude. I've gone to all these events, and I'm like, "How old are you?" "Oh, I'm 18 years old." "You have a $3,500 camera set up. I have a $1,400 one. Where did you get that money?" You know, they won't tell me. You know, "Oh, I worked for it," or whatever. I'm like, I could barely get a credit card when I was 21
Well,
years
that's
old.
well,
from Best Buy, dude.
Investing in camera gear, that's part of the reason why I haven't been doing anywhere near as much car stuff this year. On top of a whole bunch of stuff being canceled because of COVID and everything. But I haven't gone to the track. I've been doing a decent amount of kart racing because it's a lot more cost effective, and I think it's more fun.
You've been doing Autobahn, right?
Yeah.
How is it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
I left right before they did the construction. I used
Dude,
to work there.
I cannot say enough nice things about that.
I haven't even really given it a chance. I've never driven on it. I'm sure the track manager's gonna give me a free lap or something, but
It's
I've never been on there.
amazing.
So they have like a big elevation dip on it, right?
Mhm.
Big bank.
Big bank. Well, they have like a sequence of like 2 hairpins, one going up and one going downhill. Well, but it also depends on what direction you're driving, because sometimes they drive it in reverse.
Is that the reason you keep getting photos of all the cool cars that show up there? Because I'm not gonna say his name, but he works there. I know a few people that work there, but one of my friends that works on the track was telling me McLaren's before they were public. The next day he was showing me like some pictures, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And the next day I see you. I think it was Keith Trader. I don't know personally, but I'm friends with him on social media. And Patrick Morgan all started posting pictures of like the McLarens that showed up, and I'm like, how the fuck is Max there?
Yeah, so I've been going there for like 3 years now. Like, so I'm very fortunate to know members, and who are very, very generous. Like, we usually go out touring a lot, and over time I've gotten to know a lot more people there in terms of staff and the guys who run the place. So it's I don't want to say I have it in there, because that's just a wrong way to put it, but it helps to know people for sure.
Yeah, that's actually a big photography tip, by the way. People who want to get into photography and cars, you better start networking. Because I met one member there, Greg Sorg of Heritage JDM, and Kyle, the assistant track manager, told me about one of his brouhahas he does. It's like, you guys, it was me and my friend Leo. He goes, you guys need to come out to this brouhaha. And this is before I got a studio. This is like a year ago. I was trying to do a podcast, and I didn't realize how many people were going to be there. And I ended up saying, fuck it, we're not going to record anything. But me and Leo went in, and we were just enjoying the collection. He had every like desirable JDM vehicle there, but also had all these just oddball, obscure cars that are now starting to pick up traction. Back when we went, he had the big 3 Kai cars. It was the the AutoZan, the Honda Beat, and the Cappuccino, right? So the Suzuki Cappuccino, those 3 tiny little cars. And then, he had basically an R32. He didn't specify he had an R33 or an R34 yet. I'm sure somewhere overseas. But he had like all the desirable Honda cars. He had a Honda Minx, he had a Honda City Turbo, Honda City Turbo Cabriolet. And I'm talking with him. He's a really, really nice guy. He goes, yeah, Autobahn member, so on and so forth. But it's those guys right there, that's how you get like really cool photo shoots that most people allow you at least to stand out, right? I am a little different with my taste in cars. I like doing cars that either have a story to them or a little bit different. But if you want something that makes you, or if you take photos of stuff that allows you to stand out, for example, like a new McLaren or a brand new Porsche, and the quality is really good, it gives you way more publicity on social media platforms than like on Instagram and Facebook. At least that's what I've noticed. Because I'll post a photo of like a track car or Brandy's Aston would be a perfect example. Nothing. Put a story behind it. Tell people the whole history about it. They don't care. Brand new McLaren 720S, 1,000 likes. So I don't. From your connections with members, have you done any photo shoots?
Besides the ones that I posted about, with the P1LM and the F1s, not really. I'm trying to work on it, but I can't just walk up to some people there. I can't go there every single day and just walk up to every single member and go, hey.
That will get you kicked out like fast, because that's when I worked there. I was a corner worker, and I remember one day I went to go fuel cars, and after that I couldn't fuel the cars up anymore. And I guess there's a huge hierarchy with the chain of command, and you have to follow the chain of command. And I guess I didn't follow the chain of command. I didn't get in trouble, but basically the guy who gave me the job, I guess, kind of got yelled at a little bit, and I wasn't able to help him anymore. And I'm like, really? I was super passionate about this track, and it was after that I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to. I'm doing my job and I'm leaving. And I also found out, you're really not supposed to go anywhere near the clubhouse, because I guess they've had people.
Members only. Yeah.
They've had people in the past that worked there, and it became a big issue. I heard, it is a rumor, a speculation, that there was a famous basketball player around here in Chicago that was a member there. And I guess we used to go to races all the time, like all the employees that didn't go to a race or go to stuff after work. They do autocross sometimes.
Mhm.
The reason we can't do that anymore is because someone decided to go up to this famous basketball player and ask for an autograph, even though he knew not to do that. He always takes one bad apple to ruin the bunch, and that was a rumor. I mean, it gives a little bit more better speculation, but like, I don't know any of the members there, and like a lot of the guys, the photographers I meet, like they know all these people with money, and I'm like, you used to work here. Yeah, I saw them drive. I can tell you their drive line and what they prefer to drive on a Saturday or a Friday, but I'm like, I don't know these people by heart or what they do. The only time I actually got a chance to go there and get to know somebody was briefly. One of the garages on 11. And I can't go into depth what was in that garage out of privacy reasons, because we're not allowed to take photos, and I'm definitely not allowed to talk about it on the podcast. We can talk about it later. But the garage itself has allowed me to get to know a lot of the members. But he was a big investor with body shops, and his garage lived up to the nickname Garage Mahal, like the Taj Mahal, and like it was every time you turn the corner, you're like, oh my god, this is so cool. We went into one room, like, I don't want to, the cars you couldn't take photos of real quick. Like, he literally had a wall of screens. You get
it's amazing.
All these major races playing. I'm like, oh my god, this is my dream.
It's amazing how many of those garages are actually around here, in combination between like Autobahn, with all their garages over there, and then Iron Gate over in Naperville as well.
We were actually just talking about this at Road America. My buddy Ed Cruz. Eduardo Cruz is one of our instructors. He's part of a company called Auto Assets. He's a operation manager. He told me that his owner of his dealership is investing in making like an Iron Gate out where they are in Ohio, and they live over by Columbus. And I was like, really? And he's like, we're talking about Iron Gate. He goes, I've never heard of Iron Gate. I'm like,
there you go.
He goes, oh, dude, that's like what we're building. And then I showed him the garage halls. Or no, he's been to Autobahn multiple times, so he's seen the buildings. And it started a conversation. We were talking about how popular it's becoming now, where people are getting these private garage facilities. Because there's one over in Indiana. We went up to Road America. Have you gone to like downtown Elkhart Lake?
No, I wanted to go this year for they have like that classic car weekend every year.
This weekend is another one. There is the classic car weekend.
The big one, like in July.
I was trying to get media passes for it, and because of COVID, I didn't even bother. I didn't want to leave.
I missed out on it last year, and I missed out on it this year because like both times I've realized it's already too late. You can't go, and I'm like, no,
dude, you have to like apply for media passes in like December or January.
I know.
If you want a chance.
No, now I know.
Yeah. Same with PIR, which I tried to look at yesterday.
PIR, where's that at?
Performance Industry Ratio. It's a performance like.
Oh, okay.
It's like a mini SEMA
that's
in
Indy,
Indianapolis.
right? Yeah, right. Okay.
That just got canceled. So I was asking.
That was always in winter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was asking my buddy. He goes, dude, you need to like apply for media passes like way before, dude. This isn't like the Chicago Auto Show.
I've heard a lot of people say that they prefer PIR to SEMA any day of the week.
I heard SEMA is way too big. You can't really. So what really makes an event? Is it the cars and the car parts, or the people?
It's a combination of both.
I think SEMA is just too much. I go to some grid life events and I feel overwhelmed talking to way too many people and trying to get all the cars and stuff.
Right.
I haven't gone to SEMA, but I've heard the same thing from all those performance drivers. Like, we've been to SEMA, it's crazy. It's fun, but it can be
it's
a little
not something that you can do in a day. Like, you have to be there for 2 or 3 days, or however long it is.
They even sell it. It's known. If you go there for the whole weekend, or however long the show is open, you still won't see everything there.
No.
It's nuts. Next year, though, thank you, Randy is moving. I will.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm definitely going to hit him up and try to go next year. We're going to see what happens. But back to the point, though, with Road America, if you go past Road America, like you're going to Elkhart Lake, you're leaving the track and you go to the left and you start going towards Elkhart Lake, you're going to pass another motor condo facility that's right down the road.
Really?
It's another spot, and on top of that, if you go to the right, there's more houses that are being built. They're like more like the motor condo garages at Autobahn. It's basically like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment above like a high ceiling, maybe 3 or 4 car garage.
Okay.
And they're building those in Elkhart Lake, and they're right next to what they're calling it mini Elkhart Lake. It's stupid, but it's also genius. But at the same time, it really is like caused this huge market demand for these garages. And I'm like, who the hell's buying this? I didn't know there was this many car people in the first place. Can you not store these cars at home? Well, the big reason is sometimes is people who have a lot of money use those as, I guess, kind of like hiding spots. There's cars they're not supposed to be owning, or there's cars their wives don't need to know about, which I thought was kind of funny. At least that was the business proposition or the business pitch that I got when I was at Irongate. But the other issue is a lot of these places you can't live in them.
Yeah, I think at Irongate, I think you can stay on like a maximum of like 1 or 2 nights, but you can't live there full time.
Take that back. They changed their water contract. They had a water problem, so they finally have Joliet City Water, so you can live there full time.
Joliet City Water.
Joliet has their own water.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they went for a company that was right outside Joliet.
Audubon.
Yeah, we're talking about
Oh, I thought you
Audubon.
meant Irongate. I'm like, what?
No. Irongate, I've heard some people have stayed there long term, but
Okay.
they can't live there all year round. Audubon was the same. You could not live there all year round. It was like you had to be gone a day or two, which you can just rent a hotel and you're good.
Right.
But Audubon changed their rules where you can live there full time now because
Wow.
they had basically it was an issue with water. It was running water. They had to go through the city of Joliet to
Okay.
have that go through. And I guess they fixed some plumbing or something to go towards the city water setup. And now they're good. The only issue I have with Audubon, at least when I was talking to them, because I was really interested in trying to save up my money and make this my first house, because that's what you do when you're 25 years old. Your first house is at a racetrack. 99-year lease. You can't own these tracks because it's on Audubon's property. But
Yeah.
You can have a 99-year lease and live there. And I'm like, I don't want to pay a lease. Wait a minute. I want to own this.
Right.
I don't know if it's different up in Road America. But the problem is with Road America, you're not near anything.
No.
You're about an hour away from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
4-wheel drive is required if it snows an inch.
Winters up there are no joke.
I haven't been up there yet for winter. I want to do some auto
From what
runs.
I've seen, it's like Wisconsin in winter. It's just a gnarly place.
So, how many times have you been up to Road America? So you said 3 times, right?
Twice actually. So I wanted to go this year for IMSA, but I wasn't going to make it work.
Same.
I almost went for IndyCar with Keith, but I couldn't make that work either.
How was IndyCar?
Never gone.
I should maybe ask Keith that question. Sorry, my bad. Brain fart. Losing a screw. Have you been to an IndyCar race at all?
No.
I
Can't say
haven't
have.
either. So I kind of was hoping to go for my first time and see what it's like, but I'm
I
nervous.
mean, obviously the speed differential between the IMSA cars, even the what are they, the DPIs, but like the speed differential between the DPIs and the Indy cars are going to be obnoxious, especially in the corners.
Yeah.
Especially like comparing in IndyCar compared to like the BMW M8 in what is it, GTLM or
Mhm.
or the C8R.
Yeah.
It's going to be like not even close.
Have you ever witnessed the straightaway at Road America?
Yeah.
Oh no! You didn't turn his phone off.
No, so that's
I
actually.
forgot to remind you.
I have to check in for my flight tomorrow. That's what that's for.
Check into your flight so you can go to Florida and go play with Rockets. But actually, I had a question for you for track stuff. Did you ever take your Corvette? Okay, so for those who don't know, you've done track days with your Corvette. You own a C5. Have you done track days at Road America yet?
Not yet. I wanted to, but the issue with my car is oil temperature. It gets hot, like really, really hot.
What are your solutions? I didn't know this is an issue.
So you can buy aftermarket oil coolers. The thing is, plumbing, depending on how you have it worked out, can be a bit of a nightmare. From what I've seen, and with how much time and how much like resources I've been investing into photography, it's just not worth putting money into my car right now. Other than just to keep it driving.
Is that your daily?
In the summer, yeah.
That's pretty cool daily.
And I bought it with 26,000 miles about 2.5 years ago now, and I just crossed, I think, 60,000 yesterday.
Wait, how long have you owned? How long have you owned it?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Which is actually the longest like I've ever had in any car.
I hate to ask, but I don't like asking this on there. But how old are you?
23.
How's the insurance?
It's not bad, really.
Because so if you're after 25,
Well,
you have,
comparatively speaking, like if you just say like if you have an FRS or like a Charger or something like that for someone my age. It's really not that bad.
Dude, the insurance brackets are completely different though. So Corvettes are owned by old people, or the majority is they're owned by old guys. So
Exactly.
the cost per month is different. As I found out with like Focus STs, a Focus is in a bracket with people with good drivers, right?
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine had a Chevy Cruze. The Chevy Cruze demographic in the area that he lived in was $130 a month. It was horrible. It was absolutely god awful for what he's paying a month for this car. He bought a Focus ST, and his rate went down $30 a month.
Really?
Are you kidding me? He goes, well, I was asking my insurance at the time, and I know it depends on what insurance company that you have.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
what
a big
he
part
has.
of it. Yeah.
I don't know what company he had, but they said they saw it as a Ford Focus. They don't see it as a Ford Focus ST. They see it as a Ford Focus, which I was really impressed by that. I was just more curious after, what would happen if you got into an accident and how much they would cover. But going back to the Corvette though, because Corvettes are owned by a lot of old guys, their rates are extremely cheap.
Whenever someone like my age buys a Corvette, insurance companies are always like throwing out like, okay.
Which, and now that you mention that, that's crazy. I'm like, really? Wait a minute, what?
It's not cheap either. I mean, insurance for any car like for someone my age is not going to be cheap, but like it could be a lot worse.
Turning 25 next year, or actually in January, I turned 25, and I haven't really owned like a real modified car. And I was looking at Corvette C5 prices, and right now it's like 10 grand, 15 grand, and I want to get like my first track car. And I was just at, like I said, Road America with Grid Life Time Tack. There was like 3 or 4 of these, the fixed roof coupes and a couple hatchbacks running Time Attack, and they're just hauling ass. And I'm thinking,
Dude, C5s are great for sports cars. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not saying that because I'm a Corvette fanboy. I'm not kind of am. C5s are just fantastic cars.
they're cheap. The market is pretty big. There's a huge market, so you
The
can find
aftermarket for Corvettes in general is just enormous.
you can find whatever suits your fancy in certain terms or packages. If you want a Z06, or the aftermarket is pretty vast, where you can take an average hatch and put it on a level of Z06 with a couple grand.
Yeah.
There's tons of parts available at certain track days as well. I realized at this event you can probably find certain parts from a paddock neighbor compared to,
You really don't need that much like done to them. Like on my car is like 99% stock, and I drive the crap out of it.
it's like 300 horsepower, right? To the
350.
LS
ones.
The LS ones are also great, but it's more the chassis that I'm so fascinated by.
It's a great dude. Honestly, the way it drove on the stock wheels and tires, I describe it like a big FRS. In terms of how balanced it is and how playful it is and how much you feel like coming back at you in terms of feedback.
Have you had any like oh shit like Code Brown moments? Like I
I
don't expect you doing like advanced, trying to get my best track time.
I mean, I do drive it in advanced.
Trying to get my biggest track, best track time. I have a huge ego. Getting out, trying to look all cool. I met those guys at track days, and those are the guys that have their egos usually shattered into like turn 6 at Autobahn.
I have had a couple, but they weren't like in terms of like my driving. There was one time I was at Blackhawk Farms, and I guess I didn't have enough oil in my pan. And you know how Blackhawk has that long and fast left-hander?
Yes.
So I was midway through that, and I got a warning on the dash that said low oil pressure, and I'm like,
oh fuck, nope.
Yeah, so like
not today, please.
I threw it into neutral and coasted like all the way back in the pits, and thankfully the engine was so quiet. I checked the oil; it was low. It was below the fill line, so I was like.
We had a really bad moment at Road America last year. A buddy of mine took me on Blackhawk on his GT350R, and he runs Time Attack.
Man.
He runs Time Attack with his GT350 in Grid Life. At least he did.
That was that dark blue one, right?
Yeah, Brian.
Okay.
Brian. It was Cars and Coffee Survivor was the team name, and they did really good. So unfortunately, at Road America last year, it's called the National Park Speed for a reason. He ended up having oil starvation issues, collapsed the pickup, and he had rod knock. So his motor.
I heard oil is a big concern when it comes to the 350s.
Yeah, so I actually had this conversation with Scott Giles of Grid Life. He is our basically our GLTC guy, and Scott is extremely knowledgeable. Scott bought a new car this weekend, and we were really kind of shocked what he bought. Not this weekend. He bought it a couple months ago. We're really shocked what he bought. He bought a Camaro, and Scott's a Honda guy. He's old Integras, GSRs. He's raced Hondas a lot. He's raced Dodge Neons. His last car was Badger, which was 1980s Honda CRX. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to build cars anymore, and I want to go buy something new that I can go take to the track day and don't have to worry about.
Was it a 1LE?
It was the S. No, it was
the SS1LE?
No, ZL1. It was the ZL1.
ZL1 or ZL1 1LE or just the ZL1?
Just the ZL1.
Okay.
So the problem with the 1LE, it was just too stiff. It wasn't something you can daily drive. But this is where I was asking. I go, why did you pick the ZL1? What about the other cars on your list? And first one I mentioned right off the bat, 2015 Aston Martin GT. And I go, great car, but for how much you drive it, Scott, no, don't. And I said, they're great cars on like Randy's level. You know, we mentioned a friend of mine owns one because he does track days every once in a while. But Scott always goes to track days. That's what he does. And I'm like, no. So we started going down the list, and then the GT350 came up, and he said there's a big issue with those having oil starvation and just frying the motors. I don't know if it's
so
fixed.
strange to hear about those cars having those issues.
And he also mentioned something. He said they had coyotes in them, and I looked at him and I don't know, it's a Voodoo. It's a flat.
The 5.2 flat plane crank, yeah.
Yeah, you have to rev the shit out of those, dude. So Brian was revving the hell out of his at Blackhawk when I rode in it, and I was like, Jesus Christ. But
there's like no power band down low.
No, you're revving it to the moon. It sounds amazing. He had an exhaust on his, and Jesus Christ,
screams.
Out of any car on the track that was a V8, his was like the best sound.
I love how
factory.
I love how they sound.
If you guys haven't gotten a chance, you should totally open a YouTube tab right now and go look up exhaust footage of people doing modified exhaust with their GT350s. They sound amazing. But he gets the Camaro.
Manual or automatic?
Manual.
Okay.
So I asked him. I said, "Well, why'd you get the Camaro?" He goes, "I don't know why I didn't do this sooner." He goes, well, 10 years ago, they didn't make something like this. Right. They were just starting to think this as a concept and make it. But for $50,000, which was cheaper than most trucks on the lot, with the same motor with no supercharger and a bunch of stupid tech, for $50,000, he gets a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. He's able to take it to a track, comes with all this just mini things to help you out to bring this around the track. I guess he was telling me like the little things they include to get it in and out of a trailer. They tell you in the manual exactly what tire pressure to run. Like the engineers literally give you a complete guide to taking this to a track day and having fun. On top of that, sitting in pit lane, hearing just a rumble, orange blur. You got an orange Camaro. Going up the front straight at Road America should not be as effortless as he did. Most of the time, cars that are like 200-300 horsepower, once you hit Road America, there is an incline on the hill. It's like literally
aching to get over the hill.
You hit a wall. You get like you're trying to gain all this momentum like right after the last corner going to the straightaway. Once you hit that hill, it's like you hit a wall. I witnessed it in a Honda Fit, which was kind of funny. And it really gave you a perspective of how steep this incline is.
Seeing it in person is no joke.
He hit 155 in the front straight. And he was like, yep, I'm done. I could go faster, but I'm not going to. But he realized how effortless this car was for $50,000. It was like,
that's the thing about the Camaros, though. Like, those are the cars, I think the same for most C7s, too, or just Corvettes in general. I mean, depending on which one you get. Like, you can just beat the crap out of them, and they'll take it.
So the only issue that he told me, actually the other bonus was touring. So Corvettes have been known for having really good gas mileage. They're very aerodynamic.
I drove to Georgia last year to shoot Petit Le Mans, and I got 37 miles per gallon.
He was telling me with this Camaro, he drove from Union City, Kentucky, it's right outside Cincinnati, to Road America. He averaged like 25, 27 miles per gallon because there's technology that disconnects the supercharger, change the. I don't know if he had cylinder deactivation.
I think those have it.
I know it disconnects the supercharger, or at least doesn't throw any air into the motor, and then it will change the fuel mapping. And plus super high last gear. So
Yeah.
it's a 6-speed. So, or I think it's 6-speed.
Yeah.
Basically throwing in the last gear and just cruising. It's
Gearing is so long. I know in the ZL1, I think first gear takes you to 60 miles an hour.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a tall first gear.
Was it like the C6? The first gear thing was like 120. Or
No.
50?
I think the C6 Z06 came out. I think that does like almost 60 in first gear, and then the ZR1 came out, which is like 62 or 63 in first gear, and like 90 something in second, and like 120-ish in third.
We did it once in third. We had a buddy of mine who had a C6 that I don't want to say where it was at, but we ended up putting it in third long straight away, and we just pegged it. And we were slowly but surely climbing speed. We hit about 90 miles an hour.
Mm.
He goes, if we had more room on the road, he goes, I would take this to
Gearing is so long.
120. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
But like,
no wonder these are
in a way they have to gear it that long because the engine is so much torque. Otherwise, the car would be way too skittish and it'd be a pain in the ass to drive, especially if it's manual.
Yeah, I guess I see your point. I haven't driven one. I've never driven a Corvette, and it's sad to say, but I mean, as cheap as they are, I've been more looking at like the C4 era, and everyone gives me shit for that. They're like, why the C4? Well, there's two cars that I want. I want a 30. I think it was a 35 anniversary edition.
Mm-hmm.
The 35th anniversary edition came in this beautiful silver with these beautiful 5-spoke wheels. They're about 12, 13 grand right now. It's an LT1. I don't have to, or an LT4 or an LT1.
Mm.
I don't have to worry about it, and it's a decent chassis. It's not like the C5. The C5 was built, I think, for racing development as well.
It was built entirely new from the ground up. I think it was the first transaxle Corvette. It was like the first, I think, to use like to have extensive use of like fiberglass and a whole bunch of other materials. It's a brand new car inside and out. No part share with the C4s at all.
The bonus about the C5 is you had like the Z06 and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I was really sad they didn't have like Extreme Edition. Like the C6 had like the Z06, and you're like, oh my god,
Well, the
500
thing is,
horsepower.
like back in the time that those cars came out, like there wasn't a hype for any crazy lightweight special edition cars.
I can see your point.
Like that, there wasn't 5 different models of every single car that was out.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they had the 01 in the 90s. This is my point. So
they had the C4, the Grand Sport, and the ZR1. That was it.
the Grand Sport goes for more money than the ZR1, which
Does it
baffles me. I just the collector's market, because I used to work at Gateway. I'm like, why are these going for more money? Because the Grand Sport comes with a really cool paint job.
Mhm.
I know you had more options where you were able to buy a boat that looked just like it, like a little mini boat.
Yeah,
You were able to get it comes with the LT4. It's a nice car, but the ZR1 was considered the king of the road, right? The king of the road. The car, they had the heads designed by Lotus.
Yeah.
They remanufactured them, or had them manufactured over here over in Kentucky, and then they had the engines assembled and made. Like the whole assembly of the engine was done.
the first and only
For-
dual overhead cam Corvette until the C06 comes out. But
Yeah. So for dual overhead cam, it was made by Mercury Marine.
yeah,
And Mercury
Yeah.
Marine does not mess around when they build their engines because they don't usually have gears with boats, so they have to endure the beating.
high RPMs for a long period of time.
Yeah. So these are top speed demons of the 90s, and they're going for like 25 grand right now. Seriously, if you're listening to this,
ones.
C4 ZR1s, like early ones before the LTs, they had like the weird L series motors. I don't know those as well. You can get those for like 25 grand. If you're willing to spend 30 to go buy a ZR1 in the 90s, you should do it now because I think you're going to have like an easy collectible car to make some money on and just enjoy it.
Mhm.
You know, whatever miles of maintenance you put into it, you might be able to break even or get damn close, which is a win in the car world. As I try to explain that to everybody.
Yes.
You're not going to make money on cars unless you win the lottery. That's very rare. The muscle car era just... I don't know if you've seen it the last couple of years with like
I've
JDM
tried to keep
vehicles.
my nose out of it because the way cars are going up in value it's to a point it's like maddening. It's just like, well then to a point these cars get so expensive that people are afraid to drive them. It's just like that's what cars are for.
If you're afraid to drive your car, you've lost. Let me tell you, this hobby is a form of escapism. It is a form of adventure. You're supposed to have fun with your friends driving cars and having that sense of adventure, whether you drive cross country to a racetrack or to a destination. But we had this issue trying to discuss the E39 M5 with a buddy of mine. He's like, I don't understand why this is worth.
What are those going for right now? Like
If you're getting
30s?
20, 25, if
Okay.
it's super low mileage, like 40 or 50 grand, they're probably like 35, 40 grand.
Probably.
He was trying to explain to me that he didn't think it was worth that much money. And I go, of course you're not going to think it's worth that money. It's what the collector market says.
You also aren't a buyer for it. Like,
If a person goes up to a Lamborghini and says, I want to pay $200,000 for it, you know, Lamborghini may sell it for $200,000, but the person next to him that walks up to the car doesn't think it's worth more than 15 grand. He goes, this is a piece of equipment to me. It's supposed to be point A to point B. For 15 grand, I can go buy a Mitsubishi Mirage. I have a car that's going to last me until it dies, and I can go buy another one. It just depends on what a person thinks its value. This is the issue with the collector's market. People, the values are, I think, go off like history and I think egos and, you know, the flash of, oh, I own this and that, but they're too afraid to drive it, and because it's worth so much money. And
it's such a shame too. Like, some
it's a
of
shame,
the
man.
best older cars. Remember, I was watching a video of the new Gordon Murray like T50.
Yeah,
He was talking to somebody. I think it was like one of the guys from Top Gear when they did their video online about it. And Gordon was talking about how he used to go out and take people out for rides in his F1 like all the time, and then he would skate about and, you know, beat the crap out of it and drive it as he intended.
Yeah.
And then he sold it because they became too valuable and he was afraid
Yeah,
to buy it.
Harry's Garage.
It's such a shame.
Harry's Garage, he made that statement as well. They're showing off the car. He's like, it's worth $50 million. He's like, I couldn't drive it because everything's so expensive on it. And he goes, I'd rather just take the money and go, you know, buy something that I enjoy.
Right.
For what he's making for the next Gordon Murray super, or, you know, is it supercar or is it hypercar? Whatever his car is, right? No, that's not the point. Point is this is all about driving aesthetics. It's
I haven't
all
been
about
this excited about a car in a long time. And
what I feel the viewers should understand is you need to go Google this car and what he's doing.
the
And
Gordon
look,
Murray designed T50.
go look
Holy
at
cow.
everything else that's coming out in the market right now within that realm of the car world. You have cars that literally you can go take to a track and you can cheat. The 720S, perfect example. It's literally cheat code mode for the track. You can drive and feel like a professional driver. Gordon Murray's car, it isn't supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be about driving and enjoying the pleasure. It's not about 0 to 60
He hasn't
times.
announced any like specs in the car in terms of like acceleration, top speed.
Because
I could care
people
less.
are so lost about it. It's like, perfect example. I'm driving old Honda Civic, my dad's dealership, and I realized that this is a kind of a fun car. And I'm like, why am I thinking this is a fun car? There's no driving restrictions. It's lightweight. It's high revving. There's a bunch of noise, it's a bunch of my sensors in my body, and my ears, my sight, my smell is just going off. And I realized, oh, this is probably why people like track days so much. This is probably why people like driving older cars so much. And the driving pleasure is about, you know, taking this trip with this older car, or it's more about driving the car than having the fastest thing in the world. It doesn't matter on how fast, in my mind at this point, how fast you're going 0 to 60 anymore. It's about how many miles per gallon are you getting. Randy's Aston, right? We'll go back to his car. 2015 Aston Martin Vantage. I was talking to a gentleman at Autobahn at the same car show, and we're trying to explain it, and this whole car just gets a bad rap because everyone sees it as an Aston Martin. It has Volvo electronics. They made his certain car, the GT, the N430, it's called overseas, because it was able to endure like 7 years at the Nürburgring without having a major failure. Yet, because it's an Aston Martin, people think it's unreliable because they think it's all the older stuff that they made. On top of that, it has this beautiful green color. It's got the yellow accents, which commemorates Carroll Shelby and Sterling Moss's wins.
It's just like the N430 across the.
If the Ford GT right now is as important, and the Shelby Cobra with Ford versus Ferrari, this car should just be as important because it has a little bit more, or not as important, but should be as looked at as a piece of history since Aston Martin made it.
Yeah.
But most people don't want to dig that far in history. What we really started digging into, the whole point of me bringing this topic up, was a gentleman came up. He had McLaren's 570 and all these different McLarens, and he ended up getting a new AMG GT because he wanted a touring car for rallies. And we started talking about Randy's car, and he's like, I have to start looking at these, which I started freaking out because I want one. And the reason he started looking at them because he loved the look, and then we really started getting into the reason it was made, the theater, the exhaust. I think he did just 2 minor tweaks to the exhaust. He pulled the certain fuse out. I think he deleted one of the secondary cats, and it sounds amazing. It's still somewhat economical for a sports car. it looks beautiful. It's one of those cars you can go out to your garage and you just can stare at it. Even if it's broken, you can stare at it. It's one of those cars that I feel the design is somewhat timeless.
Mm.
At the same time, it's worth 50 grand. It's like the Porsche 911 is like the safe call, but this is, you get so much more value emotionally per dollar compared to the 911.
If you haven't already, go on YouTube and look up. It's from Evo magazine. It's maybe 5 years old now.
Mhm.
But Henry Catchpole, one of my favorite journalists, took Vantage N430 up to Scotland. It's like one of the best. It's one of the best put together videos in terms of music, like actual like imagery, and also car description. He's like so good at his job, and that video makes you feel like so many emotions, because it makes you realize that cars like that are gone. At this point, they're gone.
They're non-existent. You have to go back in time. This is why the collector market is now having this major issue. You have people are realizing, oh, it's cool to own this, so I'm going to buy it, and the prices start going up because the old guy who's had it for so long and realizes how special it is to drive this car is keeping it, and it's hard to find one in good condition. It's now you have a big issue where now everyone's afraid to drive them. That's not the point. We're getting to an age where cars in general, right? Real talk, cars are becoming just pods, and no one is really interested in driving. Don, who's the producer, he's off camera. We were going up to Ohio this weekend. We're gonna hang out with a bunch of convention friends that do foam fighting and D&D and stuff. And I guarantee you, I'm gonna have to explain why I'm into this hobby at least once. And for us, it's just the escapism. And when you drive one of those old cars and you have that sensory, like Gordon Murray's Supercar, for example, it allows you to escape. And that gentleman, Harry Catchpole, going to Scotland with the N430. The N430 is a Grand Touring car. It's a beautiful driver.
Well,
It
the Vantage
allows you to
itself-
go on this beautiful adventure
Yeah.
of Scotland. And that's what I think is what really is worth the money for that driving experience versus, like, let's say a 911 or a Huracan. Same couple guys did Pikes Peak International, or Pikes Peak. They drove up to Pikes Peak with their Vantages, and I'm like, that's genius. Why don't I do that? You seen the guy with the 911 that drives around? It's a 996 with the pop-up camper above his roof.
I think I have.
I don't know his Instagram handle. I'm very sorry.
I might have seen like one or two pictures, but I can't say I follow him that well.
There's one or two pictures, and there's a couple articles and videos on him, but he literally just drives his 996 with a rooftop camper, and he just goes on these beautiful back road drives, and he just camps out places. It's genius.
It's amazing what happens when you actually drive your car, especially if it's older. Like my car when I bought it, it's a model year 2001, produced in 2000, and I remember for the better part of like 18 years, that car did 26,000 miles. Imagine that, 18 years for 26,000 miles.
How much did you pay for it? There were $20,000 new.
That was around there.
Yeah.
It was around there when it was about there. It was about what I paid for it. But
So
I remember I've well over doubled the mileage in 2.5 years. I can't tell you how much.
how many miles are on it?
Right, I just crossed 60.
I guarantee if you put it up for sale, you can probably get at least 15 for it. I know
Oh,
it probably
yeah.
has rock chips on it. Or certain things, but
I've been debating on selling it for the last few months, honestly, and around that price range is what I'd be asking for it.
First,
So
so this is the issue. What was the point of the 18 years of this person not driving?
it was a garage, but the car was still on the factory tires. Like the tires were 18 years old. They were dry. They were cracking. It was disgusting. The car was a complete garage queen. The interior sounds bad, but the interior was way too nice. The exterior was way too. The car never saw like any good driving. Like you could tell. And that was such a shame. I knew I had to change that, and I did. So
at least you gave it a good life. You're giving it a good life. This is the
trying
whole point, because the next generation isn't going to care. Look at the generation we're in now. You're able to go get 1940s and 1950s cars right now, stupid cheap. I'm a big fan of the land yachts of the 60s from Cadillac and Lincoln. I was looking at 59 and 60s Cadillacs. 59, 60 have these big tail fins, very iconic. I could pick one of those up for like 25, 30 grand if I look in certain parts of the country, right? Not a concourse level or a resto mod, but still, most of the kids my age don't care about those cars, and probably in the next 10 years, they're probably going to be somewhat cheap. Because at that point, the R33 and the R34 and all these other JDM vehicles are going to be the cars that everyone wants. I don't see what the point is. It's not.
Everyone
Everyone
all
has-
depends on in a person's tastes. Yeah, as an individual, and like for me, I'm mostly a sports car person.
Yeah.
Like that. That's just how I am. I'm mostly a sports and track car person. Like in terms of like GT cars or like SUVs, I could give a shit less about SUVs. Honestly, I can't stand.
Isn't it crazy how those are like becoming huge right now in the manufacturer world?
I watched a video one time, I think by Casey Puch, and he was talking about how like SUVs are a result of our like failing like road infrastructure. So it's really very, very interesting.
I had a friend that was trying to debate a person of how the smart car was safe, and this girl just didn't want to believe him. And she's like, I think this SUV that I'm driving is safe. And he's like, well, either way, if a semi-truck hits it, either of these cars are probably going to die. But he goes, in relative terms of how the smart car was built, it's supposed to be rigid. It's supposed to be able to take crumple zones in certain areas better than an average car because the Germans designed it, and its structural setup is supposed to be way safer. That woman was looking at the car and just based on its size was saying, yeah, it's unsafe. What? She wasn't putting any like logic into it or looking into it. She was just basing off the size that, yeah, that's a small car, it's not safe. But hey, that SUV that's like 4 or 5 times the size definitely is safe. And either way, I don't think that's true. But a lot of people in the used car market, especially with my dad, he's able to sell 200,000 mile trucks and SUVs better than probably 2,000.
I mean, SUVs,
100,000 miles.
SUVs like the 4Runner or anything like that. Those are cool to me. But like the Lamborghini SUV.
Oh, you're talking about the new stuff now.
Oh yeah. It's like if you're building a freaking super SUV on the same platform as like 4 or 5 other freaking cars, and you have the audacity to say it's something special.
So I can understand with the accountant's point of view.
Oh, of course.
This makes sense, right? But I was surprised on how popular those cars got. And it's like, oh, I want comfort and everything.
It's the badging.
Oh yeah, branding as well. Branding is a
Branding.
huge thing. So what do we have right now? Alfa Romeo Stelvio.
See, I think that car's cool though. I think that car's cool.
That out of anybody, the Italians did it better with this super spiritual of the Quadrifoglio.
See,
But
if anything, Alfa is the least guilty of this because they build commuter cars anyway, for the most part. Besides the 4C and everything else, like they haven't been building mega supercars for like the last 40 odd years, and they go making an SUV. Yes, it's gonna sell.
I was surprised to see some of the Stelvios in certain areas. Living in the Southwest burbs, we had an Alfa dealership and a Maserati dealership down the road. They didn't sell very well, and they ended up selling the brand. But like, they'll do way better in like Downers Grove or like Hinsdale.
Oh yeah, I've seen a few. A friend of mine actually has a Stelvio, a Quadrifoglio. It's a great car. I love it so much.
Is it Marvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvin. Yeah, I want to go look at it. When they first came out, I think I pissed him off. I didn't know who he was yet, and I was like, I was just asking a few questions because journalists always get like these weird cars, and they're always in different conditions. I don't think Alfa Romeos are supposed to be driven in Midwest conditions. I think Italian cars are supposed to be driven in Italian conditions, like we were talking about, like old Lotus cars.
It all depends on who buys them and how they're treated. Honestly,
I thought he was the first buyer. I had a buddy who bought like an Alfa Romeo Giulia, like Q4, and he's like, it was such a good car, but he's like, check engine light kept going on. I'm like,
I've heard.
Well, when were you driving it?
Yeah.
It was like super deep cold. I'm like, what Italian car engineered?
I've heard mixed reviews on both about reliability though. That's just how Alfa is, I guess.
It's Italians. So we had the Stelvio, we had the Urus. Say Urus.
Urus. I think it is, whatever it is.
What else you got? Trackhawk.
I'm not a big Trackhawk fan. I'm not an SUV guy. I can't take it. Like, it's cool, but I can't take it. I can't.
I don't blame you. I think old SUVs are kind of cool in a sense, but now those are starting to go up in price. I'm like, I don't really care.
I'm just a wagon fanatic. That's what I am. I love wagons.
Funny you mentioned that. So let's just get off the topic of SUVs. We'll probably be one of our last topics, but Honda Accord wagons. You know how ungodly rare those are?
No.
Yeah, well, I found out yesterday trying to look for one for sale. I thought trying to find a decent condition one with a manual would be maybe like a $2,500 steal, and in the future they'll maybe be worth money.
Found out there are so many people right now that have these things. They're the most shit box condition, and they're like $3,500, $4,500. I was looking at buying one, doing like a really nice Honda engine swap. First one, started to get my hands, in on wrenching since all the Grid Life guys are all Honda guys. Most of them are.
Yeah.
And Adam Jabay is literally has played with Honda most of his life. I would love to do something like this. Like I wanted a long roof boy and try to do kind of a cool little vehicle that I can take cross country and enjoy, and it's going to be reliable. And I started looking up wagons. I can't find any that are in good shape. Either here in the Midwest, they're rusted out, and if it's a granny car, they want like $5,000 for it because it's a Honda and it's an automatic, and it's like I don't really know what to do. Other wagons were like the Roadmaster. Fan of the Roadmaster? Really?
I'm mostly about new wagons, like the
Are you talking about the new stuff?
newer stuff. Yeah.
Get out of here. Leave.
Why? No. See, a friend of mine used to have an Acura TLX wagon. Like that's the only one I have ever seen. It's like one of the best.
Was it the blue one?
Yes.
The blue one on like lowered on wheels? I saw
It
that.
was one of the best looking wagons ever. And then also you also have
Those are very
the
valuable.
like CTSV, the V2 wagon. I thought that's like the ultimate daddy car. I love it.
I was looking at TSXs last night as well, so I was like, for the amount of money.
It might have been a TSX. I can't remember.
The TSX was the 4-cylinder one, and they only came in automatic, and they did come in a wagon. I wanted to buy one, but like right now, I'm like debating like, should I do it?
Okay.
Honda reliability, I believe it is a K series. The big issue is that they're like still like $10,000 with 100,000 miles. Go look up prices if you get a chance. They're very rare. They're desirable for a reason, but I was thinking of getting one of those for like, I'll go take this to Grid Life and not have to worry about like, if I can I bring this to a dealership because it's 25 years old or something like that?
Right.
I found that as an issue with like old Lamborghinis and stuff. You can't bring it to like a new dealership.
No.
And I'm like, well, sooner or later I'm going to do this with a
Honda
Honda.
mechanic is the way to go for those.
Yeah, but ending on that note, I really don't have anything else to talk about. Do you have any wagons? Any wagons that you want to talk about?
I mean, other than how much I want a V2 CTSV wagon with a manual.
Good one.
Yeah,
What is
I
it,
know.
$50,000 now, $40,000?
More than that, probably. Like, there is a strong premium for wagons. Strong premium.
Those are gonna be the next big collector cars. I think those have just disappeared, and no one's really buying them. And I think
Well, whenever I see one posted, like around CMC, it's just like they sell within like a day or two. Like, they're not there for long. It's like
they're still very valuable.
It's like instantly sold.
Well, on that note, this was the Drivers at Large podcast, episode number 5, with my buddy Max Evans. Please, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We're gonna have you on again because I'm feeling very off today, and I even feel like this is
I feel off today too, actually. So
we're gonna have you on again.
Sure.
Maybe hopefully with Zach or something.
Okay,
But,
that'd be cool.
Do you have an Instagram?
I do. So I post most of my work on Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook personal page is just my name, Max Evans. And then my Instagram is MGDE_visuals. And the MGDE
I will
are
be
my
linking
four
that.
initials.
I will be linking that in the description below and the video. As I always say, if any of you would like to come on the podcast, please email me at thedriverslarge@gmail.com. You can see me at a Grid Life event, or if you see me outside of a car show, feel free to come say hi. We are always open to make some new friends here, as well as some new videos. If anyone's got any ideas or wants to come on the podcast, please email me. We're also taking sponsorships for beer. So if any breweries out there want to give us an official sponsorship. But this was Drivers at Large podcast, episode number 5. Stay tuned. Hopefully soon I'll have Adam Jabay of Grid Life on here. Besides that, I hope you guys have an awesome night and enjoy the rest of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and have a wonderful rest of the day or night. I'm out. Peace.